That's the cat sneezing in the background. She got a respiratory problem when we found her in a Taco Bell parking lot,
Oh,
and
recently?
so she has respiratory issues, which she'll have for
Oh,
her
I
entire
see. Okay.
life. So
Oh,
she makes a lot of noise, and then she'll sneeze like 50 times in a row, which is a lot of fun. She loves sitting in the hammock in my window here, looking out, and then it's like, oh, you're doing something. I'm gonna start sneezing. So
yeah. What's her name?
anyway, now that that's all out of the way, so first off, it seems like you came into writing a little later.
Yes.
I guess it because you were bored for with COVID, or were you just like, I have this idea and now's the time to do it?
It was more like I have this idea and now I have the time to do it. I mean, I've been writing professionally pretty much since I graduated from college, but as a reporter, I was a newspaper journalist for many years, and I've always loved mysteries ever since I was a kid, and I think I've just always really wanted to write one. And I was probably, I was just starting out in journalism when I kind of got the idea of maybe I could write one, and
Right.
I had an idea for a character, and it just kept growing on me, and I just never sat down to do it until the pandemic. So that's when I had just suddenly had the time.
Right. Which I guess is for you. So like you've read so many mysteries over the years. So was it easy to kind of formulate the beats and
No.
everything?
No, not at all. I guess I thought that, because I read so many mysteries, it would just kind of, you know, just flow. You learn through osmosis, and to a certain point, that's true. But like the whole idea of beats and or three arc structure, I did not understand that at all. And I also was just writing. I kind of figured out that other stuff while I was revising, and then I fixed my
Right.
terrible first draft. So I did everything ass backwards, whatever.
But I guess that's how you learn it, though, right?
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
I've learned more. 30 years of being a writer, I've learned more from all the millions of mistakes I've made. Rather than, oh, that's how you do this, and then I just easily do it. It-
yeah. I think that's kind of how I learned too, and maybe most people do it that way. I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah.
I guess we're all different. So how did your day job uh, meld into with the fiction? Did you get ideas from being a reporter, or did you understand the writing aspect better?
Um, I got a lot of ideas, I think, about for the fiction part of it from being a reporter, just interacting with people. There's like these tiny little details that really stick in your head that's unique about a particular person or a particular situation, and you think that would be great in a book. And so I have a lot of ideas from that. But I think writing, I got the discipline to write from being a reporter. But it's just so different. You know, it's a little bit more formulaic, and obviously you're not embellishing things. You can't make stuff up, and so it was a hard thing to switch my brain to making up names, making up dialogue. It was a switch for me, and but it was fun, and once I got into the rhythm of it, I really really enjoyed it. And now I find, because when I went back to work, towards the end of the pandemic, I work for a university here in Sacramento, and I write content for their website. So I write stories about the great things that are happening on campus and the things that our staff and faculty are doing. And I find that the fiction writing makes the story the day job writing more narrative and more engaging.
Hmm.
And I actually write faster now for them, but I still am a slow fiction writer. So, but yeah, there's definitely a blend, and I really enjoy it. I really love the writing, both for my day job and for the fiction. Fiction's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Now, is it hard mentally going back and forth? Like you go, I got to write this article this morning, but then I want to do fiction later on. Is that a tough switch?
It's not a tough switch anymore in terms of the writing part of it. It is tough in terms of my energy levels. You know, I'm a natural night owl. I like to stay up really late, and so I think I can write till really late. But I can't really do that anymore. It's partly, you know, getting older. It's also the day job part. You know, you're at the end of the day, you're just sort of tired, even if you're not physically tired, you're mentally tired.
Yeah.
And so my writing is just not as good in the evening as it used to be. So for a while, I was trying to wake up really early in the morning and write like a little bit before I had to start getting ready for work. But I sort of fell off that wagon because I'm just not a natural morning person.
Yeah, you have to, as a writer, I would say you have to find that sweet spot,
Mhm.
and it could vary from day to day. You know, there's some days I roll out of bed at 10:30, and I'm like, well, I'm already thinking about what am I going to have for lunch, as opposed to getting ready. And there's other days where I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got to go to the bathroom, and then my brain turns on with a scene, and I'm like, I'm in my office and I'm writing. So it just really, you just gotta find those moments, you know. I envy the person who can go at 10 o'clock, I sit down and I write for 2 hours, and then I have lunch, and then I write for like that would drive me, the structure of it, being a creative person, would drive me nuts.
I wish I had that kind of structure. I try to have that, but I also know that, you know, with things in my life, with work and, you know, I have kids and family, it's just not entirely possible to do that. So I don't tell myself, okay, you have to get X number of words today or X number of words this week. I kind of give myself the grace to have a life.
Right.
um, but I also try to take advantage, you know, like you said, of those moments where you weren't intending to write, but you have a minute or two to just get something down. And I find, you know, I don't get a lot of words down when those moments happen. Like if I often find myself writing while I'm waiting in line to pick up my kid at school, things like that.
Right.
Um, I don't write like paragraphs, but I can often solve a problem that's not working. And then when I am able to sit down at the computer again, I get more done then because I've
Right.
gotten over that hump, that I've gotten over that issue. And it's the same thing when I work in the morning. Um, I find that whatever was bothering me, what wasn't working at night when I went to sleep, it kind of solves itself in the morning, and I'm able to get things done faster. Um, which is sad because I want to be a night owl.
But it's good you're taking advantage of those moments,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you're not just trying to force it. Well, I'm not going to write this morning, I'm just going to write, 10 o'clock tonight kind of thing. So that obviously works out better for you. So I see the book over your shoulder. So tell everybody about the book.
Ghosts of Waikiki is my debut novel. It's about an out of work newspaper reporter who reluctantly returns home to Hawaii to be a ghostwriter for a rich, controversial developer. And then when a body drops, she gets pulled into the investigation, and she just wants to go back to California and resume her life there. But she finds herself digging for the truth. And to make matters worse, it turns out the detective in charge of the case is her ex. So she's, you know, having to deal with being back home, family and friends issues, while also trying to solve a murder.
So you finish the book,
Mhm.
and do you say, I'm going to self-publish this? I'm going to look for an agent. I'm going to look for a publisher. Like what was the mindset from the beginning?
I always knew I wanted to try the traditional route. Um, I think that's just something I really wanted to see if I could do. And the other issues too were, you know, at the time I wasn't working. And so I didn't have the resources or the ability really to figure out how to self publish because there's just a lot involved. I mean, you could publish something without having it be edited and, create your own covers. I don't have those kind of skills.
Right. Yeah.
So I would have to hire people to do that. And so I had to try and figure out a way to get published with minimal actual money investment.
Right.
And so, while I was finishing writing, I was also trying to figure out how to query, because that was also something I really hadn't looked into until
Right. Yeah.
I started writing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a whole different beast, whether you're looking for an agent or you're looking for a publisher.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. At the time, the writing community was really strong on Twitter. And there was the whole pit fests and things like that. And so I was kind of looking into those things. There were online courses I could take about how to query. And so that's kind of the route I went.
Right. And obviously it was successful because you have a book out over your shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was good timing.
So when you're writing it, are you saying, okay, this is a one and done, or are you saying this character could be a series?
I always loved series. I just gravitate towards them. I think I just get invested in the character as a reader. And so I want to know more about them. I want to hear more of their stories. And so in my head, this was always going to be a series. So I'm working on book 2. I don't know if it's going to get published. We'll see what happens, but I just needed to write it. But I mean, yours, you seem to know from the very beginning that you wanted not just a series, but you knew the number of books that you were going to publish within that particular series.
I had an idea, I had an idea. This idea in my head is a trilogy. This is a 3-book, or this is a 6-book, or a 9, or a 12, whatever it was. And, most of the time, but, writing crime fiction, writing mysteries, the readers want a series. They want to invest in that character over and over. So I think that was, for me, that was a no-brainer. My horror stuff is mostly, about half of it is just standalones. Mm-hmm. Here's a monster, whatever, here's a ghost, whatever, and we're done with this story. But for me, the crime fiction it's the characters.
Yeah.
When I first started writing crime fiction, my wife, she's a huge Janet Ivanovic reader. And she said, and I was talking to her about the books, and she said, she's like, I don't know what the plot is for the books, but I can tell you who the love interest was. I can tell you what her friends were doing. She's like, people are invested in the characters. It doesn't matter what you're really, what the mystery is, or what the crime is. It's the characters that people really love. And so I always go into those books looking at it that way. And if you can create a really good character, those people are going to read 100 books, about that person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have books that I still follow. I've been following for many, many years. And it's one of those books, those characters or the authors that I wait for their next book to come out. And it's like one of the first things I buy. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what the plot is, because you're just invested in there are certain authors I can read, and I always say, if you wrote 200 pages of your 2 main characters sitting in a room having a conversation and a cup of coffee together, I would read and love that book.
Yeah.
Because of the personalities, rather than 57 car chases and shootouts and everything else.
Right. And it's kind of fun too, because it's like you said, if you follow the
story
and the plot, and it draws you through the book, but later on, a few years later, you can read it again and enjoy it again.
Yeah. That's very true. There are a lot of really, really good characters I've been reading lately. Mm-hmm. A lot of writers that I'm brand new to, and for me, that's really fun, because you're following that character's journey,
right?
And you're also you're kind of following the author's journey, because I know for me, I put a lot of real life, real time stuff in it. So for you was a lot of that, obviously reporter and all that. So was there a lot of you in this book?
There were, I think her goals and her desires as far as why she wanted to be a journalist, why she wanted to write. I think she's idealistic, and I definitely think I am too. And so I wanted I wanted to use that to show a part of Hawaii that you don't always see in books. Because I did live there for a while when I was a kid, and I loved it there, and I wanted to show the parts that I remembered. And so it was really important for me to set that book in Hawaii. I think, when I was starting to think about writing, it was originally going to be in Sacramento, but it didn't work. And when I realized, okay, I can set it in Hawaii instead, and I can tell that story, then it started to work for me. And so in that sense, yes, it's very much who I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the write what you know.
Yeah.
And I think that really, I look at that, write what you know, as in what you've read, what you have experienced, and the things you've researched and understand. And readers react to that. Readers read in this book, and they go, okay, there's a part of you in this book. And I think that's really, really important. I would never go, I'm going to write a book set in Hawaii, because I've never been to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
I would never, I'm going to write your book. I could never write your book because I haven't experienced those things. And I think readers really gravitate towards that. All right, I got a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
So who are some of the mystery thriller authors that you grew up reading that really inspired you to become a writer in the first place?
Oh, okay. So I think growing up as a kid, it was the books that my mom used to bring home from the library and that I would sneak. And so it was very much a Mary Higgins Clark, Phyllis Whitney, Velda Johnston. I loved those books as a kid. And later on, when I was reporter, there were like 3 writers that I happened to be reading at the same time that kind of made me think, okay, this is the character I want to write. And it was Naomi Hirahara, who was writing a series about a Japanese gardener in Los Angeles. There was Sujata Massey, her Rei Shimura series, and Jan Burke, who was writing about a reporter also in like a fictionalized Southern California town. So those were, I think that all those are what kind of eventually created Maya Wong.
Right. Which is also that, write what you know is those authors that really, that you grow up and they really inspire you. And I think that's cool. Over the years, I've had like somebody's like, this reads like a kind of like a Dean Koontz kind of thing. I'm like,
yes.
That's the reason I started writing at 12 years old was because reading my mom's Dean Koontz books.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how we see the books that our parents have, and you're curious and you start reading them.
Yeah, it's funny now. My mother still, reads horror books, and I'll give her books I get books all the time, and I'm like, here, you'll like this, read this. It's not too crazy. She's a Stephen King fan. I'm a Dean Koontz fan. So there's always that argument, which is always fun between the two of us. So who are some of the authors that you read now that you think more people should be reading?
Jane Peck. She wrote The Verifiers and The Rivals. I just think she's a really interesting writer. I love her stories. I think she's great. And there's also Claire Booth. She writes the Hank Worth sheriff in the Ozarks. She's also an incredible writer. Her 7th book just came out last spring, Throwing Shadows.
Yeah, so that's right down. That's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think
Ozark sheriff. Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds pretty good. All right, so where can people find you out there?
I am mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I also have a website. It's not great. I need to work on that. It's just my name, jenniferkmorita.com. And yeah, I'm happy to respond to people, and I love to hear from readers. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. This was a lot of fun. Good luck with that second book. Hopefully,
thank you so much.
Hopefully it will get picked up by the publisher or another publisher. And just keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep writing. I just get a lot of joy from writing, so I think I'll always just do that.